What a day, what a day, what a day. We had believe it or not, we had the Yellin show, and I just wish they would get off the stage. But let me pull this back. I'll show you what I did. I ended up taking this little pullback trade right here at 330. Got lucky and got some ticks out of it before it just went flat, but I got real lucky on that. Kind of chopped around here. Got a few more ticks out of this guy. I got an entry in here and then took some right there. Then I watched this huge, there was some news out at 7:30. I can't remember what it was, mortgage maybe, or I can't remember, but it dropped right down. I mean, it to the tick of this pivot level here. This is my little red zone. I put a little study on here that kind of shows the times that I don't want to trade. But this thing went back and I got in. I tried to short this guy right here. It was about right at 16 tick, or it was. I shorted right at a 16 tick pullback, and of course I got stopped out pretty quickly. And then I watched it and had another good entry, but I was kind of done for the day. I got busy doing some other stuff. But we had another signal. But after all this chop, watching all this chop all morning, I just kind of said I'm done, and I just had a very small loss for the day, and I just wanted to keep it that way because even though I got some ticks out of this, it wasn't enough, and then I took a little loss here and said, okay, I'm done. But lo and behold, 850 we get a cross and an EMA cross, and this guy pulls back right here. You could have got in on that 17. Now you might would have stopped right here, just depending on your fortitude. But then Yellin's on the stage at 10 Eastern. So we see what happens. Here's 10 o'clock. I think it was Eastern. So she was into her talk already, and look what happens. Runs right up. I got a level on here that you might see. That's interesting. It goes right up into the 618 retracement off the daily and chops around that, and it pretty much stays here the rest of the day. One thing I want to show you is, let's see, ZN. Let's see if I can pull up ZN, and I wasn't watching it, and I should have been, but I wanted to tell you guys, keep these two charts up, because a lot of times I've noticed, if this will print, there you go, you can get a lot cleaner signals. Look at these. Now I take that back. I did trade ZN here on this signal, but I did not on this one, and I should have. I mean, look how clean an entry you could have got on that. But I did take it here, but for some reason I stopped watching it. I don't know why. My mistake, but much cleaner entries. And then look over here, the Yellin show. I should have had ZB right up against it, but it's just so much cleaner. You could have waited for the EMA here and then just jumped right on this EMA. And then of course it runs right up to its pivot. I mean, to the tick. Look at that. To the tick, its pivot. So what I was telling another trader this morning, these pivot levels and Fibonacci too, it gives us some structure. It gives us some structure. Look, he kind of pierced this pivot, but for the most part, he's right here on it and runs up. So we have some structure, and because sometimes you put this trade on, and if you're just right here on the right hand side of the chart, you just put a trade on, you don't know what's going to happen. It's much closer to this pivot than it is this pivot. So you really don't know when you put the trade on. Yeah, you've done your back testing and you know that when you get these two in alignment, you can probably get some ticks out of it, but you don't know for sure. But once it starts moving, if you go back and back test, there's a lot of these pivot levels that get hit. I mean, when I put this trade on this morning, oh, I go too far. Yeah, right there. When I put this trade on this morning, I said, all right, maybe it'll run to the pivot. Well, when it didn't. I took profit off, and it was a good trade for me. But and then it kind of chopped around. I said, well, it looks like it's not gonna make this pivot. Lo and behold, boom, it goes right down. Eventually got there, but it was some pain in between right here. But this ZB chart was much choppier than this, but use those pivots to give you some structure around your trading and try to trade between them. And if you see that you've got some room, like this trade, you got some room to run down to a pivot, that's a good trade. I think that's better than trying to take a trade on this pivot and it goes somewhere. But and the other thing is ZN. Watch ZN when you're watching the 30-year. Watch the 10-year note and see if you can get in some easier entries with the 10-year. It's not always that way, but sometimes it is. So watch them both, and you might be surprised at what you can get into. But yeah, the Yellin show really moved it up today. But that's all I've got. Look at that, boy. Right to the pivot, and then it just kind of bounces. That's all I've got today, guys. I hope it helps, and I will see you tomorrow.